Hi everyone, Flora Sage here. So over the last several weeks, I have been speaking with many of you in strategy sessions, and a lot of you are saying that you just want to be happy again, that you just want to figure out why you're feeling stuck and why you're feeling the way that you're feeling, which is uneasy, anxious, all of these things that just make you feel like life is kind of hard and it's a struggle and it's like a standstill in a lot of areas of your lives. And so today we're going to talk about how to really truly be happy again. And the easiest way to do this is to just get back to basics. As we age, as we evolve in our life and in our relationships with coworkers and with people in our lives, things just happen, and what happens when these things happen, we start to censor ourselves a little bit. So let's just say that you have an argument with a neighbor about some random ass thing, okay? And so maybe the next time that you see your neighbor, you start to censor yourself. Maybe you're not as friendly. Maybe you pull back a little bit in the friendship. Let's just say maybe you have a coworker that you had a little, rift with. And again, maybe you pull back a little bit. So you start censoring yourself ever so slightly in each of these situations. And then you come home and let's say that you and your partner have a little conflict. Maybe you have a little bit of a fight, or maybe you just both had a bad day and you snap at each other or whatever. And so what do? You start to censor yourself just a little bit. Maybe you don't say something that you really want to say. Maybe you don't share openly the way that you have in the past. So with all these censorships, what happens is life just feels hard because you can't, or you feel like you can't be 100% yourself. You feel like you have to mind what you say here and mind what you say there. And when you recognize this and you recognize that this is one of the ways that is causing you to feel like shit and it's causing you to feel stuck, give yourself permission to just say, okay, I'm just going to recognize where I'm at and I'm going to start over. Okay, and don't be afraid to start over. So what does starting over mean? Starting over basically means maybe you see your neighbor and be like, hey, what's up? I realized that confrontation that we had a couple weeks ago was kind of awkward and blah, 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 whatever, and I hope that we can just get past it. Or same thing with anybody that you have a conflict with or a conversation with where you feel like you have to censor yourself. Call it out. When you call it out, what happens is it takes the power away from it. It frees up the energy and you're like, oh, well, that wasn't so bad. That feels pretty good, actually. And if you call it out and the other person gets angry at you about it, just say, okay, well, I understand that you're angry about this and I was feeling awkward about it, so let's talk about it. And the beautiful thing about recognizing where these things are feeling clogged or stuck or feeling like you can't truly authentically be yourself, what happens is it's a beautiful opportunity for you to address it and clear the air. So that's relationship stuff. Now let's think about and look at your personal stuff that you have going on within you. So maybe you've got weight that you want to release. Maybe you have clutter in your home and you feel like you can't relax because it's just all cluttered and you're like, oh my God, like seriously, I literally just decluttered like a month ago or 6 months ago or a year ago or whatever. So pay attention to what other things in your life besides relationships are making you feel stuck or are making you feel overwhelmed or making you feel like life is hard or making you feel like what the fuck? Like, seriously, what's going on here? And sometimes what this means is just taking out your notebook and just writing out, just doing a brain dump and saying, oh my God, I am totally feeling overwhelmed right now. And just take your marker or your pen or pencil or whatever and just like do a brain dump and just let everything out that is making you feel overwhelmed and frustrated and pissed off and angry and also excited and those things that you're really excited and lit up about. You know what I mean? And then look at these things and just say, okay, so how did I get here? How did I get to this place where I'm 50 pounds overweight or 10 pounds overweight, or I'm feeling like I can't be really open with my partner, or I feel like my freaking house is a damn mess? Okay, how did I get here? And be honest. Sometimes with the spectrum of bullshit that we have in our life, from really small things like clutter in the corner of our room to big dysfunctional relationships, what happens is when we have these little tiny things egging us on or kind of poking us energetically, going, oh my God, look, I'm a stack of books and a stack of crap that you haven't dealt with. And you're like, oh my gosh, I have to deal with that. And then you have this other thing going on. What happens is energetically, you've got all this stuff going on and you're like, oh, this is too much. And so what do? You just say, fuck it, and go on to Facebook and start scrolling. Or you go on to Netflix and binge watch the latest episodes of Outlander or The Last Kingdom or whatever it is that you're into. And you start to just say, I'm just going to deal with this tomorrow. I'm just going to deal with this weekend. And you put it off. And this is a temporary fix. It's a temporary relief and release of this obligation, of this thing in our lives. But what happens is this causes us to delay gratification and also delay resolution of these particular things in our life. Now, some of you might say, oh no, I've got kids, there's going to be clutter regardless if I clean it up today or clean it up tomorrow. Surface clutter and family clutter is one thing, but this deeper clutter and the deeper issues, well, are deeper. So look at why you're choosing to avoid going through that stack of books, or why you're choosing to avoid having that conversation with somebody. Yeah, it's going to feel awkward. It's going to feel weird. Sometimes you might get angry. Sometimes you might say something that will piss somebody else off, or you might get pissed off yourself. But until you have the conversation, it's still going to be there. And when you have the conversation, usually it's not as bad as you think it's going to be. And when you start to address your emotional eating, what happens is all of a sudden you can call yourself out on it and be like, yeah, I'm feeling kind of pissed. I'm feeling kind of frustrated. And I find myself eating a half a pan of brownies, and this doesn't feel good. So when you recognize and notice that you're overeating, or you're doing avoidance behaviors like binging Netflix or mindlessly scrolling on Instagram or Facebook, which is very easy to do, especially when you follow some really fun people, what happens is, again, you can recognize and go, okay, wait a minute. I feel like I'm numbing out. I feel like I'm avoiding this particular thing because it's uncomfortable. And okay, call yourself out at it. When you call yourself out on it, what happens is you take the power away. You take that charge away from it, and you're like, okay, so what's the worst thing that could happen if I deal with this today? What's the best thing that could happen if I deal with this today? Then you can look at both sides of it and go, okay, the worst thing that could happen is this. Boom. The best thing that could happen is this. Boom. Now, the beautiful thing about this, when you address the worst case, best case scenario, you're prepared for anything. You truly are prepared for anything. So then going into that challenging conversation, and you're only assuming it's going to be challenging. Now, yeah, it might feel awkward for you, and if it does, say that to the person you're talking with. You can say, so, I really want to talk with you about something, but I feel really awkward bringing this up. Or it makes me feel however it is that you're feeling. And when you call out the awkward situation or the awkward feelings, and you call out, maybe you're feeling scared, maybe you're feeling vulnerable. I feel really vulnerable and awkward sharing this with you, but I need to talk with you about this because it's just been weighing heavy on my heart, and I really need to share this with you. And I understand that, I don't know how you're going to react or respond to this, but I really, truly need to have this conversation with you. So please let me share what it is I'm going to share, and then think about it for a moment, and then we'll discuss, okay? Now, the cool thing about this is when you start a conversation with people and you say, I'm feeling vulnerable, scared, awkward, whatever it is, usually, if it's a healthy person that's not an asshole, honestly, they'll respect that, and they'll respect that you feel awkward and that you feel maybe scared and you feel a little bit whatever it is that you're feeling, and they'll honor that, and they won't step on your feet and they won't interrupt you, and they'll just let you speak. And then, again, knowing how you feel, they'll say, okay, and then they'll have a conversation with you instead of yelling or whatever. So, you know, feeling stuck in your life has so many different facets. And feeling like you can't be honest with yourself and you can't be honest with other people and you start censoring yourself is normal. It's so normal. Trust me, I've been coaching people for 22 years. This is something that literally everyone goes through, okay? So recognize that you're not alone in what you're going through right now. But the easiest way to be happy again, the easiest way to let life be easy and to get happy and to feel like yourself again is, one, address those challenging conversations. You don't really know if it's going to be challenging. It's only in your mind that you think it's going to be challenging, okay? You say, okay, I'm going to address those conversations that I feel scared to have, okay? When you do that, oh my gosh, there's this huge release of energy because you're no longer holding on to that what if and that unknown that comes with having that conversation. Another thing is that when you start to address that little spectrum of bullshit, of those little things that are annoying you in your house, and okay, I'll give you a prime example. So I have a window here, and this is something that's been kind of bugging me since I moved my office in this room. It's beautiful, spacious windows. I can see my neighbor's house and a beautiful backyard. However, there's a window from their home that looks directly into my office, and they're frequently out in the yard. And many times, because I am who I am, I like to dance and sing and be like, hey, what's up, and also doing these videos. And sometimes I feel like I have to not do something or censor myself because they may be watching. Now, they know who I am. I do all this shit outside anyway, but to me, because I'm in the privacy of my home, it does feel a little bit, what's the right word? It feels a little bit awkward and almost like a violation of my privacy because they can absolutely see in. So I've actually got 2 sets of these Roman blinds. They're really cool, and I haven't put them up yet. And so sitting and thinking about what I wanted to share with you today, that's one of the things that is literally in my action planner to do today is put up these Roman blinds on my windows. So anyway, so the key is to recognize these little tiny to-dos and these little tiny things in your home and in your life that are weighing you down, that are pulling your energy away, that is making you feel like life is hard, or that there's, oh my gosh, there's so much to do, yada yada. But when you do a brain dump, I literally would recommend everybody do this. Do a brain dump. What is all those things that are weighing heavy on your heart, that are making you feel like life is hard, or making you feel stuck, or making you feel anything less than joyous and anything less than, oh my God, I've got a fucking kick-ass life, okay? Put all of them down, all right? And then pick one and address it. And then pick another one and address it. And pick another one and address it. And the beautiful thing about this is you're going to see that addressing all of these little things, they're honestly not as hard as you thought they were. But when we have so many of them bombarding us constantly, and with social media and notifications dinging and blah, 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 it's easy for us to be in reactionary mode instead of responsitory mode. Reactionary mode is just reacting to our stimulus and our surroundings. Responsitory mode is you see it and you choose to respond or you choose not to respond. You can choose to focus your attention and your awareness on whatever it is that you really truly want to, put your attention on. I'll give you a prime example. When I was really young, well, not really young, I think I was like 14 or 15, my dad had just remarried, and my stepsister and I were in the, house together. And the phone rang, and I went running to go to the phone, and she grabs it and she holds it over her head and she wouldn't let me answer it. And I'm like, answer the phone. She's like, why? I'm like, because it's ringing. And she's like, I don't feel like answering it. I'm like, but I want to answer it. So I grew up in a home where both of my parents were entrepreneurs and they both had day jobs. So because they were entrepreneurs, they sold honey and Shackley, and my mom was an insurance agent and my dad was a purchasing agent, but also did all the other stuff with my mom. When the phone rang, we answered it, and we answered it professionally based on which phone line it was. I mean, we literally had like a bank of like 5 different lines, and each line was labeled so we knew how to answer the phone. If it was for the video center, for the Shackley, for honey, whatever it was. And anyway, so I was taught you answer the phone when it rings. And it was such an awkward concept for me to not answer the phone. And I remember sitting there kind of in shock after we had this event happen where she's like, you can't answer the phone. And I was like, oh my God, what the hell? You know? And I realized it wasn't the end of the world. And they left a message and it was not an emergency. But it was such a different concept for me to not answer the phone when it rang. And since then, I have greatly embraced that. Just because somebody knocks on your door doesn't mean you have to answer it. Just because somebody calls doesn't mean you have to answer it, especially with how many spam phone calls we get nowadays. Just because a notification goes off does not mean you need to check it, okay? You are in control of what you focus your attention and time on, because time is something you're never going to get back, all right? So allow yourself to do this process today. Take out your notebook, do a brain dump, write everything out that is stressing you out, that is causing you to feel overwhelmed or frustrated or stuck or stagnant or anything else, and then pick one and just do it. And ask yourself, how do I want to feel? Why? How did I get in this situation? And when you're really honest with yourself, what happens is you can start to address those things and you can start to call yourself out on your bullshit. You can call yourself out on this and say, do I really need this 4th brownie? No. Do I want 1 brownie? Absolutely. Don't make 1 brownie be the entire pan, however. But eat until you feel satisfied, but eat slowly because it takes like 20 minutes for your body to recognize that you're actually even eating. But, when you're consuming social media, recognize how you feel. And when it stops feeling good, when you start to feel anxious or start to feel like you're searching for something and you're scrolling mindlessly, stop. When you feel like you want to say something to your partner or somebody else, but there's that little funky energy, ask yourself, okay, what is this funky energy that I'm feeling? What do I really want to say? And then say it. Say, hey, so-and-so. So I'm feeling just some funky vibes today, and I want to talk about it. When you call it out, whether for yourself or somebody else, or just in the situation, again, that takes the power away from it and allows you to release the energy and release that energetic hold that it has on you. And this is one of the easiest ways to be happy and to allow your life to feel free again and to feel easy. And this is getting back to basics. Like when you're a kid, you don't have any sense. No sensor. It's like, why does that lady have bumps on the back of her legs? Cellulite. Okay, I've heard so many things from kids. I've got 2 boys. And they do not censor. They do not censor in any way, shape, or form. But you know what? Kids are so happy usually, and they're so free, and they're so in the moment because they do what feels good. They do what they love. If they want to play, they're all in it, and they're in it to win it. Let me tell you, if they're building some Lego castle, oh my gosh, you can be like, hey, it's time for dinner. They're like, I'm building a Lego castle, whatever. And it's like, remember what it feels like to be in the moment and to feel unencumbered. And if you want to say something, say something. Granted, use tact in your delivery and don't be a jerk about it. But again, this is one of the easiest ways to feel happy again and to just feel that freedom that comes with being in joy and being in your life that you're creating. One of the things I always talk about is how manifesting can truly be easy in your life. And part of this is just calling yourself on your bullshit and allowing yourself to recognize where you're holding yourself back. And where you're holding yourself back is where you're censoring yourself and where you feel like something is hard. Call yourself out. Why do I feel that this is hard for me today? Is it because of what I think someone's going to say, or what I think someone's going to react, or whatever? Or is it because I feel like I'm not ready yet? And the beautiful thing about this is it's never about the other person. It's always about you and your ability to accept where you're at and your ability to freely share where you're at and what's going on and where you really truly want to go. So I hope that this video has helped you. I know this was a little bit longer than I normally do, but there's so much that I could say about this topic and so much that is involved with this. So if you want my personal help with this, I do have private coaching spots available for both for business coaching as well as personal and spiritual development coaching. So if you're interested, what I want you to do is I want you to click one of the links below. I've got personal coaching as well as business coaching. Your life is your life, but sometimes we feel stuck and sometimes we feel like we're not quite sure what to address first, what to tackle first, what's really a big deal, and also what's weighing you down the most. And this is one of the things that I am an absolute expert at. So if you want my help and you're truly ready, you are truly ready to have a life and business that you love, what I want you to do, click one of the links below and we'll talk very soon, okay? I love you. Mwah. And my cats, say hi. I don't know if you heard that. Mwah. I love you all. Bye.